Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level.
Simple questions for 100 people. Welcome to the experiment. I'm Bill Correll, and this is my investigation. I'm researching 100 beautiful human beings for the sole purpose to see what actually happens across the interviews. The questions are fixed, and all interviews will remain consistent, with the variable being that huge cat on your shoulders and the actual participants themselves and their answers. It's as if I'm asking you, Dan, to come sit on my porch and share your thoughts so I can learn about people.
100%.
So I'm looking forward to what I'm going to learn when I'm done with, if anything at all, but very interested in the conversations, the people, the process, and in your particular story. So what is your full name?
Daniel Robert Older.
Daniel Robert Older. That's a great name.
So I am affectionately known by my sweet nieces and nephews as Dan Bob.
And Bob. I like it. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the name. That's the Older is not something I've heard before. I've heard elder. I knew a couple of elders.
Yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about the origin of the name. I think my dad said it once. It came possibly from Germany, England, possibly.
Yep.
But I've really never researched it. It never really interested me to really kind of find out. So I used to be extremely out there. Like, I used to be extremely bubbly and so I really never took the time to kind of really investigate any of that information. I got a brain injury in 14 or 15, and it kind of flipped my whole personality. So I went from completely bubbly to actually slowing down and being able to focus, which I attribute to that, to being able to do everything that I'm doing up to this point. So again, I just never really taken the time to actually study the name Older.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's something that we can get into that etymology offline. But the cool thing is that you do have a damn good attitude and a pretty good sense of humor as well, which
Yes, sir.
is a good thing. So Dan, with all that said, what's your favorite nickname that most people don't know?
So this will kind of go into some of the other questions that you had, but Superman was a nickname that I got in high school because my sophomore year we did the Superman show in band. I was in marching band, and I collapsed on Tuesday of band camp from severe dehydration.
Yep.
They took me to the hospital. I went home on Wednesday. Came back Thursday, learned the whole show.
Wow. That's quite a capacity. And
So I was nicknamed Superman, and I've always loved that. It kind of fits me exactly who I am, what I do. I have my kryptonite. I know what's good for me, what's not. I have that giving heart, that ability to fight evil when I need to. Some people don't think it's overly appropriate all the time, but that's okay. So.
well, It may not be appropriate, but that's super, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's great. Any other nicknames along the way?
um, I attest this one to my brother. And it always makes me laugh. He called me Weasel Bag when I was when we were younger. So, and he passed away just over 5 years ago now. So that's kind of always been kind of a fun name, and it was actually brought it up at the at his eulogy, and I was reading um, a definition of what a brother is, and then
Yeah.
I just added my kind of little inserts into it, and it said those fun nicknames. And I leaned into the microphone. And I said, "Brad, I still remember Weasel Bag," and
Yeah.
my dad just about lost it. He was laughing so hard. So,
Yeah. That's
so
fantastic.
it's a fun name. Obviously, not too many people can call me that, but Weasel Bag is definitely something that I just hold. I hold near and dear now, just because it's been 5 years, and it's a fun memory to hold on to.
Yeah. I am sorry for your loss.
I thank you.
I know what it is to lose a sibling. I don't
Mhm.
know what it is for you to lose your sibling, but I know what it was for me, and
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's not it
Nope.
never ends, it never goes away. But with that said, he obviously loved you because there were some mean things he could have called you, and Weaselbag is more like giving you little noogies or a
Yeah.
rib
Pretty much.
shot. Yeah,
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah.
nothing that leaves any marks. Let's put it that way.
No, sir.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
When did you first notice what color hair you had, Dan?
I think I've cognitively probably junior high or probably elementary. I think,
Yeah.
it's probably when I cognitively would have known. Up to that age, I really wouldn't have noticed, taken any notice to it. So I think I noticed it, fairly early on in junior high, when I started getting my own design cuts. And I mean, I can't believe my mother let me out of the house looking like I did, but
Yeah, so for the folks at home, because we're audio at this time, your hair is pretty short cropped, and I'm wondering if that's from a military stint or it's just you. Have you always favored having a crew cut, or what's the
so
deal?
I was actually in high school. I have blonde hair, so in high school, I always did a bowl cut. I looked ridiculous because my hair just poofs up. It doesn't actually poof backwards. It poofs up and it's curly, and it look. Oh my god! I look at my high school photos and thinking, how did my wife even like? How would my wife even have attracted to me? Like, this is terrible looking. So, um, but I think it was in high school that someone took the lines and just blended them, and I realized I kind of liked it. And I always liked kind of the shorter hair, just because my hair gets so long. I
Yeah,
have to wash it every single day just to get it to lay down.
yeah,
So I cut it short, and I'm good for 3 months and I go back, So, it's kind of a cost effective thing to cut my head. I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. And Brad was actually in the military for 16 years. So, it's kind of one of those, if I want to look in the mirror, sometimes I can kind of see him kind of thing. So that's kind of again, a back in the mind kind of thing. But I just like it. Like the way it feels. I sweat a lot in my job. So I work for basically a busing company, and busing the elderly around. And so they like it warm on the bus. And so I have to make sure that I'm not sweating to death.
yeah. I know it's cold when it's only 80 in the bus, right?
Yeah.
That's great. That's a really great story. And I have a feeling. Let me see. You were in high school, probably late '90s, early 2000s.
Early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so curly hair was coming back in those days, wasn't it?
Well, and it stems from my dad. My dad has really wavy hair, so I got the long wavy hair that just kind of poofs up. So I always tell people I'm between 5'3" and 5'5". Depends on how long my hair is.
I love it. Most guys wear lifts. You just comb your hair up.
Yep, yep, yep. I don't even have to comb it up; it just goes up.
Good for you. So Dan, what's your favorite thing to do to intentionally waste time?
Intentionally waste time. We have the hobby of hot air ballooning. My wife and I do that during the summer, into the late fall, early winter. So it's about a 9 month career almost. And I can say career just because we're doing it almost every single day, almost every single weekend, starting roughly in May and going into December, early January.
Now, what do you actually do? What is it made up of?
So I do all the work. Um, so we do all the setup for the pilot. We do all the catching of the balloon, tearing it down, chasing the
Wow.
balloon. So we do a lot of things. There's a lot of science that we had to learn. We started actually in 14.
Yep.
So that I don't know, almost I don't know 11. I think we're on 11. I think we're going into 11 or 12 years. So that we've
Wow.
been doing that activity.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That'll keep you in shape, huh?
Yes, very much so. There's especially if we're doing an event where we're doing tethers, and if you got two balloons running, they all need fuel. So you're running back and forth with fuel tanks, and fuel tanks are about 120, 130 pounds when fully loaded. So they're 15 pound or they're 15-gallon tanks. So.
Wow. Yeah. And now what does your wife do? You said you do all the work. What does she do?
So she works along with me, but she is actually in the process of getting her pilot's license.
Which you
So
do need in order to be untethered in a balloon, right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh,
Even to tether a balloon, anything. If you're running those burners, you need to at least have a pilot's license, and that's through the FAA. You get a lighter than air certificate. So FAA training. So it is actually quite involved.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting that you bring that up. I've always been fascinated by balloons.
Yes, sir.
Um, I had an opportunity. I was a sponsor of a balloon we had here in town back in the
Okay.
1990s.
Hmm.
Um, we had a balloon fest. We had it
Okay.
for 2 years, and we got rained out both years on 2 of the 3 days. So we lost our behind, in terms of
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the sponsor money and
yeah,
all that. But it was still great. It was the end of October because all of the other places around the country had
yeah,
balloon fests already spoken for.
yeah,
So we didn't do that, and I had an opportunity to go up in a balloon because we were a sponsor. But I sent my partner, and
yeah.
he took his family, and they had a ball. And then when we got to Florida in 2004, I bought a house that was on a big old water retention plan, which makes it just look like a desert or something.
Yeah.
But that's for overflow from hurricanes and what have you in
Okay.
Florida. And there was a balloon club that met there every single week, and they
Wow.
either in the early days they took off from there, and that was usually somewhere around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, as the sun was starting to get up, a
Yep.
little bit in the air.
Yep.
And that was so much fun watching them break it down. And some of them had trucks that were pulling a trailer, or a van that was pulling a trailer or something like that.
Yes, sir.
But it looked like they were having the time of their lives. And so
Hmm.
we used to just sit there with our binoculars and watch them go through all of this. And then as they took off, there was like usually about 6 or 7 of them. Wasn't a whole lot. But when they took off from someplace else and landed there, that could be as many as 20 balloons.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's like watching whales in the sky as far as I'm concerned. It's just really cool, like being on a
It
whale watch.
is. It really is. And to actually be up there is a whole it's a whole different world. It's a whole different perspective. I've been as far as a Mile High before. Um, I didn't mind being up there. I didn't like getting up there, just because you're pushing through all those layers. So you can hear the wind kind of whistling through that pilot light, and all I'm thinking is that thing goes out, we're done. Like,
The glide
just,
path on these things isn't so great, is it?
just, just get me out of here. Just let's get to this level and let's just be done. Like,
Well, I
just,
got to tell you, that is the most unique, extraordinary, time wasting thing I've ever heard of. So
I
God
appreciate
bless
that.
you for that.
Yeah.
Now, what makes you consider that as being a wasting time?
Um, Other than the fact that it's keeping me away from home, it's keeping me away from sitting in front of the TV. It's keeping me away from just playing on my phone, which happens a lot during this during the winter time, during the winter months, just kind of recovering and recuperating. Because I mean, ballooning is a ballooning is a it's a lot on your body. It hurts.
Yeah,
Sometimes sometimes you can physically hurt. I've bruised my ribs 4 times now doing this sport. I had a balloon that came in very quick out of the sky, didn't realize it, and the burner actually came down and hit me right in the chest,
wow,
planted me into the ground. So we've had some issues. And those are freak accident moments that you don't plan on, but you expect. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
but it's physically grueling. The balloon itself is between 350 and 400 pounds, and dragging that out every single day and every single night,
yeah,
it takes a toll on your body. So,
absolutely. And I'll tell you what, it's something that is a great conversation starter, I am sure.
oh
No
yes,
doubt about that.
yes, sir.
So
I
thank
tell
you
you,
for that.
I tell you one more story,
Yeah,
just because it's important to my story. Um, I was at a balloon event when Brad died, and so I found out that morning, um, and my body kind of went into shock. And I said, "Well, I gotta get ready. Like, it's time to go fly a balloon. Like, we still got to do the event." And I took the opportunity, and I got to fly that morning. It's unique to me. I was able to say goodbye to my brother 3,000 feet in the air.
good for you, Dan. That is a
So
It's a
very, very,
remarkable memory for you, isn't it?
it is. It really is. Ballooning kind of changed for me at that moment. The ballooning community came behind, my wife and I. They were very supportive. They prayed for us at the breakfast as we were heading home. And it kind of brought everybody together. And it showed me, um, you, they always say, you find your true friends when tragedy happens. And that balloon community came behind us and supported us and took care of us, and they still are.
Amazing.
So, uh, ballooning is ballooning means a lot to me. I can't do as much as I wanted to anymore, because it's been 10 years of beating your body up. But I still love it when I can, and it's the balloon community. It's not necessarily the sport anymore. It's really the balloon community and the people I get to spend time with.
It's kinda cool when you start off with a hobby and it just opens up a whole new community for you.
100%.
That's great. Yeah, so I almost hate to ask you the next question because 'cause we're having
No.
so much fun on this one. But, moving along here, on my part, what's your favorite movie to watch alone?
Um, there's multiple that I go for, and a lot of it has to depend on kind of what I'm kind of in the mood for. But Independence Day is right there at the top of the list. Um, Again, I think it's that fight or flight mode, that action figure kind of person, that feeling of what would you do in this situation? If there's a tragedy, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna fight or flight? You know what I mean? Same thing with the Day After Tomorrow. Again, huge disaster movie. Again, it's those questions. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna follow the crowd, or are you going to stand up and say, I need to stay put? What are you gonna do? And to see that battle back and forth between the vice president and I can't think of his name right now, but just that battle back and forth of you need to do something now, and the vice president saying, "Well, I got power, I'm not going to do anything," and then all of a sudden now we're stuck with this situation that we could have been dealt with, And again, it goes back to my thinking of what can I do now
Right.
to help prevent some of these bigger issues down the line, and um, I think that's what's helped me with my grief and where I'm at, and in my writing and all of that is just that mindset of what can I do? I had a mentor at one time tell me, he goes, no one's going to do it for you. So what are you going to do about it? If you want love, why don't you go out and show love? If you want a community of people, go find and be a part of a community of people. They're not coming to you. You need to go find them.
Yes. Yeah,
And
I
I
love
think
it.
that's why I like those types of movies. Is it gives me that reminder that what I'm doing is absolutely right and correct, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's kind of like being driven by that old saying, if it is to be, then it's up to me,
100%.
Yeah, that's great. So, all right. So now we're Mr. Superman. If you were to have an action figure made of you, what superpower would it have? And what colors would its uniform be?
Yeah. And again, I go back to Superman. I think it personifies me. It is exactly who who I am. Who I am as a person, the strength that I have as a person, my ability to give, even when the kryptonite is strong, my ability to stand up and say I don't care, and that's gotten me in trouble. I'll tell you, Bill, just because I forget sometimes that I need to fill my own cup. And I think that's really my kryptonite is I give and give and give, and then I forgot to give to me. And this year has been big for me in taking that role and taking care of me. Um, I can't change. I can't change the last 38 years, but in 39 years, this last year, I have taken care of me. I have poured into me, and that's exactly what I was missing.
Yeah,
I have the give part. I have to take the give me part a little
sure.
better.
So, what can you point to that you've changed in order to take care of yourself?
Well, I'll tell you, I I chose a word this year is conquer,
Well, you're
and
Superman, so why not?
yeah, right, right. This is the first year I've ever chosen a word, though. I've never done this before. But I knew going into this year, um, I was going to my first live grief conference. And going into a grief conference was the most terrifying thing I could ever think of. It wasn't something I was excited about. It was something I knew I needed to do. It was like going into surgery. It's not something you really want to do, but it's something you need to do.
Right.
And I had actually made a commitment the year before I found out where we were going, that yes, year five, I was going to the conference. A week later, I found out that I was going to be in New Orleans, and that was the city that Brad lived in.
My
I
goodness.
had I had not yet been to a city and stayed in a city where Brad had lived. I had passed through a city, and I had a hard time just driving through the city, let alone staying in a city where Brad lived. So I needed to conquer that fear of I need to do this, and God bless my support team. There was multiple phone call conversations. There was multiple text conversations. Can I really do this? And one of the things that one of my sisters asked me, she goes, what can I do? I said, I need to know that I'm going to be safe. And she could, can you expound on that? And I said, yes. I says, I need to know that I'm going to be safe if I lose it. I need to know that I'm going to be safe if I start crying because the emotion become too much for me. And she said, I can do that. And she gave me this rock, and it said, you are safe. And now I carry that rock with me every place I go. But again, I needed to conquer that fear of I'm going to this conference. Brad was there, so I know I'm going to feel his presence there. And I was also doing my first live talk at a conference. Sorry,
Wow.
Dip. So I was doing all of these things that needed to be done. I went to the conference and I had a great time. A lot of people knew me from my posts, from my poetry, so I was making a difference before I even got there. Um, but as we get in here to November, I realized that the word conquer was not conquering the fear. The word conquer was conquering myself.
Yeah.
I was getting in the way. I was the problem, and I had to fix the problem. And
Yes.
I didn't realize that until I chose the word conquer, and God said, I'm going to show you what you really need to conquer,
Yeah.
and that's yourself.
It's the um, it's a central theme of every hero's journey, and in every quester's way. That James Campbell whole idea is the greatest single battle to win for a superhero is the one that's inside. And
Hmm.
well said. And you're absolutely spot on. Superman conquers the right word. So now we'll kind of go back in the time machine. Set the Wayback Machine, Sherman. What did you want to grow up to be when you were 5?
I think it was a firefighter. But again, that hero concept,
Yeah.
that hero mentality. What can I do to serve my community? What can I do to take care of others? The big trucks didn't hurt. The loud noises and the mask and the helmet, and it all looked superhero cool.
Yeah. It's great. So, what would you say your greatest accomplishment is, Dan?
My life through these last 5 years.
Yeah, say some more, please.
I I always knew I had great in me, but I didn't know where it was going to come from. I struggled for many years trying to find out who I really wanted to be, what I really wanted to do. College wasn't it. College wasn't my thing. I struggled all the way through school. I tried college. I had issues with college. Um, so I knew that wasn't it. And then Brad died, and I just started writing,
Yeah.
and I just kept writing, and to the tune of I think I'm close to 250 pieces of
Wow.
poetry in 5 years. I dabbled in it. I did some incredible pieces. When I was in school and high school, really, really stood out when poetry came. But I got out of high school and I stopped writing. And then ballooning came along, and I wrote a few things about ballooning. But then Brad died, and I'd written just a few months before that. I'd written a couple of pieces because my wife had gotten cancer, and we fought through that battle of cancer. And I just remember I've got to write these feelings because these feelings are really dark right now. Like I don't like what I'm feeling, and I started writing. And then Brad died, and then the writing really kicked up. And for a while, it was just about me. It was just about me doing what I needed to do so I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't go insane. Um, and then um, about a year later, I joined an online support group and went to the first meeting, and the second meeting I went to with a writing class. And that just kind of opened up my eyes and opened up my door to more possibilities, more things that I could write. I started writing um, masterpiece masterpiece poems, things that were absolutely phenomenal. A few that we have coming, actually. Um, it, it was what I needed. It was exactly what I needed to start stepping out and standing out and becoming true to myself.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen right away. My poems were all mushy, and sometimes they were strong, but I always tried to end them on a positive note. And the turning point for me was a, a couple weeks before Christmas that first year, and I had a really bad dream, and I wrote about the dream, and it ended terribly. Um, and my character died in the end of this dream, and I wrote about that, and there was no positive spin on it. It was just that's what it was,
Yeah.
and my support group said that was the best thing I'd ever written, and I got mad. What do you mean? This is terrible. Like, well, I can you say this is the best piece ever? And one of my supporters said, Dan, losing your brother was not good.
Yeah.
So for you to continue to write good things about this is not healthy. Sometimes you need to deal with the rough and the tough and the crap. And
Yeah.
it opened up my eyes. It gave me the ability to write more freely.
That's great. So that whole idea of self-expression as opposed to just expression,
Mhm.
or trying to please people with your expression. The self-expression is where you start to feel a little more room, you start feeling a little freer, and now all of a sudden you can exhale again. Maybe a little bit, maybe halfway, who knows, but that's a remarkable thing for you to share simply because the whole process of getting back on your feet again when you've been knocked down, and don't know if you ever want to get back on your feet again at some point. So that's fantastic. I'm real interested in who your favorite person to listen to is.
As far as band, as far as
No, favorite person could be somebody speaking, could be,
yeah,
maybe a TV personality, could be a friend of yours, your dad, you know?
I I don't know if I can say I have a favorite,
Yeah,
and here's why. Because I can take so much from I can take a little bit from every single person, and that's I think what's helped me in this journey is realizing that not everyone's going to have all of the answers, so not everyone is exactly what I need, and that's why I need a community, and that's why we all need a community, not just one or two people. And I think I learned that early on in my journey was I need to learn that even though people said they were going to be there, that they couldn't always be there, and
right.
I needed to be okay with that. So I don't really have a favorite. I have
Yeah,
multiple favorites. You know what I mean? I pull from everybody. Even the clients that I have, on a daily basis, I pull from everybody. I have good relationships with all of my clients that I have, and we have, I think, 200 or 300 clients. You know what I mean? So I have a personal relationship with all of these people. We all do different things. We interact differently. Some people want to be quiet, so I will respect that time and I'll just be quiet with them. Some people want to talk. I'll take that time and talk with them. I'll find those relatable topics. Some people said, "Oh, look out for this person," and yet that person became my best friend. Why? Because I learned to understand where people are, and I learned to find those common grounds. And when you find a common ground, you can be a friend with anybody.
Yeah,
So again, I don't really have that favorite person. I draw from everybody and anyone that I can.
very clear, very clear. So now, in year 38, going on year 39, please
No,
complete.
39 going on 40.
Oh, yeah, so you're past the
Yeah.
30, huh? Okay, good for you.
So 39 will be 40 and I'll be 40 January 3rd.
You're real close to 40, aren't you?
Yeah, it's interesting because my wife will be 40 the day after. My wife and I are a day apart.
Oh, that's fun. That is- I can only imagine what your celebrations are like.
Yes, sir.
So, with all of that,
Hmm?
please complete this sentence, Dan. When I grow up, I'd like to.
Conquer the world.
Okay, Superman. And
Everybody's little boy dream, but no, seriously. I want to know that I have left a mark on everyone that I come in contact with,
yeah,
and I hope it's positive. I can't guarantee it's positive, but I hope and pray that I have done enough when they lay me on the ground that I can rest peacefully.
yeah, that bears a moment of silence because essentially that is really beginning with the end in mind.
Hmm.
It's not about accomplishment. It's about a feeling of self-respect, completion, and
Hmm.
satisfaction. I hear in all of that.
I think for me, Bill, it's interesting. I wrote 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, my purpose statement, and my purpose statement included everything that I'm doing right now. Took me 20 years to get here, but my purpose statement came to fruition because it was always in the back of my mind. This is what I'm living for. So it doesn't matter what it looks like I'm doing right now. What I'm
Yeah,
living for is this, and now it's coming to fruition.
yeah. An appropriate way for you to language all of that because the next sentence, believe it or not, is what's the most important thing in life to you right now?
Taking care of me so I can take care of others.
It's a good batting order.
Because I can't take care of me, I can't take care of anybody else. I can't be Superman if I don't work out, if I don't keep peace of mind, if I don't keep my peace. I can't do any of that. So I can't be the superhero unless I'm a superhero to myself.
Yeah, yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. And I guess the next question is to whom is it most important that you be a superhero at this moment, or for whom?
For me,
Very grounded.
because
Yep.
if not for if not for me, I can't do my job. I can't do my job effectively.
Yep.
I can't be selfish. I can't be thinking everything in the world if I'm not taking care of the one that really matters in this world, and
Hmm.
that's me.
Yep.
And it's crazy to hear because I've never wanted to say that because I always thought it was selfish. Thought it was always selfish to say I need to think about me. And yet, as the years have gone by, I've realized it. I have to take care of me, otherwise I can't take care of anybody else.
Well, you know what I hear? It's still selfish. Just the meaning of the word has changed for you.
Yeah.
It's no
Hmm.
longer pejorative or wrong or a bad word. Being selfish means being responsible,
Yeah.
means setting yourself up for success as opposed to maybe not being successful because you don't know when to say when.
Hmm. I don't know when to step into something great. I can't be ready for something great if I don't expect greatness out of myself.
Yeah. No, it's very, very on point and true. So now we've got all of that work leading up to the time when you're not here anymore. And what would you like to leave in the world after your life is done?
Never thought about that really, quite honestly. Um, but I think it's just because I think Brad's death allowed me to realize that that moment could be any time. So I have to live each day according to what my purpose is, and that's to take care of me first, and to take care of others second, to take care of my family. To do all of these things, and if I'm doing that, I'm leaving my mark in the world. Even if I pass tomorrow, if I never wake up tomorrow, um, it's okay because what if people are gonna remember? They're gonna remember Dan Older. They're gonna remember the poetry dude.
Yeah.
The person that has made a difference in a short 5 years, and it will continue to go on. My all of my poems are saved in my phone. And we're getting them all downloaded. That's going to be here the rest of my life and past me. You know, and yeah,
Are
I
you
I
are you
live
are you
with these
publishing them?
things. Huh?
Are you publishing them?
I will be. Yes. Um, I I have a goal. I was gonna do 10 years. And I think I'm gonna still stick with it. I want to hit the mark of about 300. That'll give me at least 300 at that point. I'm gonna call it the chili pot of grief. Because sometimes it stings you, sometimes it's hearty and meatful, and sometimes it's very flavorful, and sometimes it can burn your butt. So
Sometimes
you
it
know.
has beans and sometimes without beans, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So, but yeah, I plan on to. It's something I know I need to do. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. The opportunity is there, and I'm gonna take it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that's really great. And I can tell you one thing, and maybe this will inform you in terms of what you're creating in the world. Obviously, what Brad left in the world is you, not too shabby.
I
Pretty great. Yeah.
I had to. I keep reminding myself of that, Bill,
Yeah.
because the more successful I get with this, with everything happening, I get scared because all I think is, if Brad was still here, would I have the success? And I start feeling that guilty conscience of, what am I doing? Like, is this really okay? And I called one of my support groups the other night, just crying, and I said, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be successful with Brad gone.
Yep.
Is it right? Is it okay to be successful with Brad gone? Because he gave me all of this. Without him, none of this would be happening. And my support said, "Look, it's a gift. Accept the gift."
Yep.
And that's what I have to learn how to do. I have to learn to accept the gift. And the gift is the emotions and the lessons that Brad taught me that I'm passing on to others. And that gift is okay to accept. And it makes it easier for me to accept the coming days.
Yeah, the gift is part of the contract.
Hmm? It's a hard part of the contract.
Well, it gets easier as you go along, I can tell you that. Yeah. So, that's 12 questions, and, any self-respecting food person, baker or what have you, is always gonna give you something free. You go to a Chinese restaurant, with 6, you get egg roll, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But the 13th, bun or the 13th cupcake is always what I look forward to at the baker. So
Mhm.
here's your baker's question. What is
Yes.
the thing that most people misunderstand about you, Dan?
My passion sometimes comes out as anger. I will protect people no matter what that looks like, and sometimes that comes out as anger and frustration. You know, sometimes when I start talking about my grief and things that I've learned, I get very passionate and I get very loud. Um, and that all stems from a heart of love, a heart of dedication to the mission that I've decided to take upon myself. And sometimes it's skewed, but I'll protect my family no matter what. I don't care if we're best friends. You start attacking my family, I'm going to take you out. Like we're gonna have a strong conversation, and
Yeah,
you may not like it, and that's not my problem. I'm going to protect my family, and I expect that same thing from the people that I spend time with. You either respect my family, take care of my family, or we're going to have a problem.
yeah,
And it comes from a passion of love, and it comes from a passion of protector, that Superman mentality. He had to get violent. You know, even all the greatest superheroes had to be violent at times. And I think that's a great lesson uh, that I've had to learn.
yeah,
I could be violent at times and fight for the right things, and sometimes normally not with my fist or anything like that, but it might be with my words, and knocking people down a few pegs, because just like I can't choose one person. There's no one person that is better than another. Um,
yeah,
as great of a person as you are, I see you and I respect you just as much as I do, the dentist down the road, or the C clerk, the person running the gas station. I see human equality as it should be. There is no hierarchy.
yeah. Yeah, it sounds to me, if I were gonna feed you back in shorthand, what I heard you say was, sometimes what people misread is that your passion for protecting people comes across as anger and frustration, but your heart's always in the right place,
Yes, sir.
and that's what they misunderstand.
Yes, sir.
I get it. So, I've asked you a bunch of questions. Do you have any questions of me?
Why this journey? Why this journey of 100 people? These questions. Why? Why this journey?
It's a great question. I won't ever be able to answer why, but I will be able to tell you what started me on this quest.
Hmm.
And it was coming out of a lot of nonsense, with identity politics and with people being really mean to each other on media and all the rest of that sort of thing. And I
Hmm.
found myself being really curious after hearing some people express themselves on college campuses and some other things that I uh, observed and watched. And then I started listening to some thought leaders, and I thought to myself, do you think really that people are different by their group, or do you think that people have this kind of core sense of themselves to where they're more alike than different? Let's just go see, my hypothesis was, what if people are their outside doesn't inform us much about what's going on inside?
Hmm.
And so the why will always come back to, I love people.
Yeah.
I just love them all. I haven't met them all yet, but if you hang around me a little bit, you're going to know that's essentially what my life is all about, is to spread love and to turn the lights on where there's darkness, that
Hmm.
sort of thing. So,
Hmm.
how's that for a
I love that answer. Can I ask you another question?
absolutely.
Why me?
You?
Why me?
Um, Simply because you showed up on the call as somebody who had some intensity, and I noticed you. Other than that, I really just thought you'd be a great person to talk to.
No, appreciate that.
Yeah,
Because I always like to know that, why me?
yeah.
Because there's something that I can always take from that, something I can always learn from that. There's something that I don't know that I'm not seeing that other people see. You know what I mean? And I think that's important to always be aware of.
Well, it's a great question. And how do I choose anyone?
Yeah, right.
It's an accident that we meet each other. We come across each other, and then there's some kind of a quick connection. And
Mhm.
whether it leaves me with a question, or it leaves me with a, I want some more of that, that sort of thing.
Right.
And I just really decided that you would be a great guy to have a conversation with. And I
Hmm.
have a feeling that the two of us are probably going to be sharing our journey together for a little while. So
This is definitely not our last conversation. I'll tell you that much.
that would be my desire too, Dan.
Where are
Absolutely.
you? Where are you located at?
I'm down in a place called Willimantic, Connecticut.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, Brad was stationed in Connecticut
No,
for a
in
time,
Groton?
and New England.
Well, no, I mean in Groton, Connecticut.
No, he was in New England, Connecticut, or
No,
New London,
New
New
London.
London.
Yes,
Yep. Yeah.
across from Groton. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 He was in New London, Connecticut. He actually was on the sailboat.
great.
So. So,
So
so yeah, and of course, obviously, I know Jason, and Jason's right there in New Jersey, and so all of you guys are just kind of a short hop, and it's interesting. I tell you, we're going to make it to Connecticut one day. Um, my wife and I like to do ghost hunting,
we have them.
and well, and that's exciting because we're actually going to hit all 50 states. So we have done six states this year
Good for
already,
you.
and it's just something for us to do together. We've been to New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, um, it- Illinois, and Connecticut's on the list. So we will definitely be in your neighborhood, and we will definitely look you up because I would love to finally meet you in person.
I'm so looking forward to that, my friend, and I would love to come to Battle Creek as well.
I
And I'll
would
tell
love to
you what,
have you.
why don't we wrap this thing up, and
Yeah.
we'll let people kind of get on with what they're doing. Any other thoughts you've got that you just want to share with folks?
Jason asked me this the other day. We had our conversation, and I think I liked it. Stay true to you. don't give up on you. Don't change yourself for anybody else, because you're the one that has to live with you.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest takeaway, and that's my biggest takeaway from 2024 is I have to be true to myself, even when I don't want to be.
That's great. That's great. So I'm going to wrap up by saying what I often say at the ends of my podcast, and that is for all of you at home, and for you too, Jason, in particular, reach out to people in your life and just let them know, by, I don't know, text, phone call, email, carrier pigeon, whatever it takes. Wrap a note around a rock and throw it through their window. Whatever you got to do, just let them know that the world works for you because they're in it.
Hmm.
And if they ever need you, they can get back to you in kind, exactly the same way, and it will be
Hmm.
accepted very well. So,
Yeah.
with that said, thank you all for tuning in. And yes, this is 100 questions for 100, simple questions for 100 people. And it's always moving for me. And I really appreciate the time here with you, Dan, and you've been so generous. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Simple Questions for 100 People, part of the Xvadio Podcast Network. You can catch every episode of Simple Questions, plus the rest of the network, at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.